Hey guys, this is attorney Philip Adams of the law offices of Philip Adams here in Shreveport, Louisiana. And I want to take some time today to talk to you about Louisiana's teachers, specifically within the context of criminal cases involving simple battery allegations against Louisiana teachers. Now, in my experience, this has been probably the most common type of allegation that I see that is brought against Louisiana teachers. I've had the good fortune of being able to represent many teachers. I get many cases from Red River United, which is the largest teachers union in North Louisiana, the relationships that I have with that union. And there are many types of batteries to be aware of under Louisiana criminal law. So the most common is simple battery. And if you look at the Louisiana Revised Statutes under 14:35 subsection A, simple battery is defined in the following manner. Simple battery is a battery that is committed without the consent of the victim. So basically, simple battery would be non-consensual touching or physical contact of some kind. To fully understand the definition of simple battery, however, you have to look further to find the definition of battery itself beyond 14:35A. So if we go to 14:33, it actually defines what a battery is under the law in Louisiana. It defines battery as being the intentional use of force or violence upon the person of another, or the intentional administration of a poison or other noxious liquid or substance to another. As an example, if a teacher intentionally hits a student without that student's consent, a simple battery has been committed. Anger, frustration, and anxiety can cause a teacher to lose his or her cool and hurt a student. Likewise, as another example, if a teacher intentionally throws a cup of water onto a student without consent, that teacher has committed the crime of simple battery, because if you go back to that language, remember it says battery is the intentional use of force or violence upon the person of another, or the intentional administration of a poison or other noxious liquid or substance to another. Noxious liquid or substance would be something that creates offense when it makes contact with somebody. Obviously, if I take a cup of water and I throw it in your face, that's going to be offensive to you as an individual. So in that sense, even if I don't make direct contact with my hands with your physical person, if by throwing the water in your face, the water itself, a noxious liquid or substance, is making contact with your physical person, and therefore I've committed a battery against you if I've done so without your consent. Every element of the definition for simple battery has to be proved beyond a reasonable doubt for a teacher to be convicted of such a crime. This means that a judge hearing the case, since simple battery is only judge trial eligible in Louisiana, every judge hearing the case has to be firmly convinced of the truth of each element of the definition. Maybe, probably, perhaps, or almost will not rise to the level of proof beyond a reasonable doubt that is required under our criminal law. Every simple battery is a misdemeanor offense, and that's why simple battery is not a jury trial eligible offense under Louisiana law. So if a teacher who faces an accusation of simple battery can expect that his or her guilt will be determined by a judge and not a jury. So if the trial judge has even a single reasonable doubt as to your guilt as a teacher, then he or she is legally required to find you not guilty. Now, for a variety of reasons, a student can bring an accusation against a teacher and accuse that teacher of simple battery. The student's accusation may even wind up being legitimate. The student, however, may be mistaken, or the student may just be plain lying. The accusation has to be fully investigated to determine its strengths and weaknesses so that sound legal advice can be given and the most appropriate defense developed. To determine if an accusation is legitimate, a competent attorney can look to see if internal and external consistency in the case exists. An accusation has to be internally coherent and it has to be free of major inconsistencies to be believable. If a student's accusation changes in major ways with multiple tellings to different people, that in and of itself is a red flag of either a mistaken or false accusation. Likewise, an accusation has to be externally consistent. For example, if another student says that she was in a classroom when the accusing student claims that a teacher hit the accusing student, but the other student denies that that happened, an external inconsistency exists that may exonerate the teacher. Likewise, if an accusing student's story is contradicted by surveillance footage in the school, then an external inconsistency exists because the student's story is being contradicted by external evidence, in this case, surveillance footage. On the other hand, at the end of an investigation, if the student's story is corroborated by other witnesses and or surveillance footage, then the accusation might wind up being deemed legitimate, absent any compelling reason or reasons to believe otherwise. So, for example, if a student's story is corroborated by another student's story, that may be indicative of truth, but it might also not be indicative of truth. It's important to look deeper than that. And let me give you some food for thought on that. If two students are part of a conspiracy to make a false allegation or frame a teacher because perhaps they don't like the teacher or for whatever other reason, then if those students coordinate with each other, they can easily, as part of a group effort, appear to be consistent in what they claim. So you can't just take consistency among multiple witnesses at face value. It's important to look deeper to find out if there are any motives or incentives to collectively frame a teacher for a battery allegation. So we look at surveillance footage, we look at tellings, we look at what other witnesses say and so forth, and we take all that comprehensively into account when trying to determine if a simple battery allegation is believable and credible. Now, it's important to keep in mind that even if a student's accusation by itself doesn't have any corroborating evidence, under our law, if that accusation is believed by a trial judge, and that trial judge believes it beyond a reasonable doubt, the truth of what that accusation is, that allegation by itself, without any corroborating evidence from another witness or physical evidence like surveillance footage, can be enough to actually convict someone of a simple battery charge. How might that happen? Well, if all you've got is the allegation of a student, that student takes the witness stand, that student testifies, and the teacher doesn't testify, or maybe the teacher does testify, if the teacher's defense is inconsistent or implausible, a teacher's credibility could be diminished, and the trial judge might give credence to that student's allegations, even without any supporting evidence in that case. Now, sometimes students are mistaken when they accuse a teacher of simple battery. They may not necessarily be coming from a place of ill intent. For instance, a student may have had his or her back turned, been hit by another student while a teacher is near that other student, and then mistakenly get blamed for the battery by the other student. So it's important to have a thorough investigation that can go a long way towards uncovering whether a student is mistaken. Now, students may lie for a myriad of reasons. A student may have received a bad grade and want to retaliate against the teacher. A student may have a mental illness that impacts his or her credibility. A student may seek attention that comes with being labeled a victim. A student may be jealous of a teacher. The motives and possibilities for lying are endless. And the reasons why people may be mistaken, on the other hand, are also endless. We've all been lied to by others at some point in our lives, or had someone be mistaken and then claim that we did something that we didn't actually do. Adults do these things all the time, and children do them as well. That's part of the human condition. If a teacher is initially accused of simple battery, the teacher should immediately seek legal counsel for representation, in my opinion, regardless whether the teacher believes he or she is innocent or guilty. I think there are benefits that can flow from seeking legal counsel. While it's not required to do so, there are benefits to doing so, and it's important to be aware of the benefits that are attendant with having representation. Even a misdemeanor offense, for instance, can ruin a teaching career and make it virtually impossible for you to find employment again in education if you get wrongfully convicted of a crime against a student. Additionally, it's important to be mindful that the law is complex and nuanced, and what might seem like a simple matter to address can very quickly morph into something far more complex, far more serious, and possibly even become a felony case as more details and investigation occur. So it's ideal to not speak to law enforcement or school investigators and personnel until you have first had an opportunity to at least consult with an attorney. If you find yourself facing an accusation of simple battery, or any crime for that matter, as a teacher, immediately inform your teachers union first if you belong to one, and then consult with legal counsel so that you can begin the process of adequately defending yourself. Again, it's not necessary that you have legal counsel. However, there are benefits that flow from that. Thank you.